Hi again. My name is Kata Pogorski. I'm the project manager for 171-523 installation and revision of traffic control signals in District 1. We have a little map here showing the area of District 1. I might refer to it as that, or I might refer to it as Central Connecticut. So that's kind of the general location of this project, but we do have specific locations that we're looking at for our traffic signal improvements. And these are located in Enfield, Hartford, Middletown, and South Windsor. So we'll dig a little further into the specific locations later in the presentation. But up at the top here, I just want to let you all know that our email address is dot.signalreplacements@ct.gov. You can contact us at that email either during this presentation or after during a 2-week comment period, and it's generally kind of a continuous email access for us and the project team on these signal improvement projects. So we'll start off on the next slide with some housekeeping items. So first, you're able to view captions and subtitles in Zoom in a number of languages. In order to do that, you can find the CC button in your Zoom browser window. You click on that, and then you're able to select from a whole list of different speaking languages, and will be translated in real time for you. So for the meeting overview, we have a couple more housekeeping items I'll go over. I'll introduce the project team. We'll talk about the purpose of the meeting and then give an overview of the project and talk about some of the coordination that's been ongoing or that we're going to continue to do. And then we'll talk a little bit about potential right-of-way impacts and then the process that it entails to go through those acquisitions. And then at the end, we'll talk about the cost and schedule for the project and the next steps. And then when all that's completed, we'll have a Q&A session. If anybody has any questions or comments, we can answer them live. So that's the time to do that. A little bit more information about the Q&A. Again, our email address is dot.signalreplacements@ct.gov. You could also call our phone number and leave a voicemail, 860-594-2020. You could also use the Q&A kind of chat portal in Zoom. I have a little bit more information on that. And then I just wanted to let you know that there is a webpage for this project that you can go to at any time during the project lifecycle for information. So that's listed there. And then we have a comment period that's open after this public meeting for 2 weeks, July 29th. And during that time, you can contact us and we'll kind of respond to your questions. So that's generally a 2-week comment period. I also want to just let you know that really at any time during the project lifecycle, you are welcome to coordinate with your local officials. Each town has a local traffic authority designated, and we coordinate pretty closely with the LTAs, as they're called, as we're working on the project. So they should be aware of what we're doing, and if you get in contact with them, they kind of act as a liaison between us and the public. So they're really there for you to talk about this project or really any issues, any traffic issues in your town. So the Q&A feature, there should be an icon in your Zoom browser that says Q&A. So if you click on that, then the window should pop up and you can type your question in the box, enter, and then we'll be able to see it and respond to you in that same window. And if you're an audio only participant, if you dial *9, it'll show up as a raised hand and we can unmute you and you can share your question live. And this is the Title VI Civil Rights slide. It says that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. We do have a voluntary post-meeting survey if you would like to share feedback on our public involvement meeting process, you are welcome to do so, and we would like to receive that feedback. There's a QR code here as well as a link. And then there's also more information at our Title VI website. So this is another slide with some more information about Title VI. It says that the Connecticut Department of Transportation operates its programs and services without regard to race, color, and national origin in accordance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes she or he has been aggrieved by any unlawful discriminatory practice under Title VI may file a complaint with the CTDOT. And for more information on our program and the procedures to file a complaint, you can contact our Title VI coordinator, Deborah Goss, at 860-594-2169 or deborah.goss@ct.gov. So then the next slide is just sharing the same information in Spanish. So I'll leave that up for a minute to give everybody a chance to read it. Okay, can we move to the next one? Thank you. All right, now to jump into a little bit more project-specific information. First, going to introduce the project team. So Matthew Bloom is the Division Chief of Traffic Engineering. And then also here tonight are Lisa Conroy, who's our Principal Engineer in the Traffic Signals Unit. Again, my name is Kata Podgorski. I'm the Project Manager. Leo Gomez and Fred Orley are transportation engineers, also working on this project. And Malcolm Thomas is with us from our division of rights of way. So he'll be talking to us about that portion of the project. The purpose of the meeting is to introduce, I want to give you an overview of the program, the ongoing program we have to replace traffic signal equipment throughout the state, and then provide an overview and status of this specific project, obtain input, and then we'll be able to respond to any questions or comments. So for an overview of the specific project, I kind of indicated the broad locations before. So here, like a little bit more specific locations on the map. So we have a couple of different types of improvements that we're doing. Some of the traffic signal improvements are going to be full replacements. So all of the existing traffic signal equipment will be replaced at 9 locations throughout District 1. There's going to be 1 full replacement in Enfield, 6 in Hartford, and 2 in Middletown. And then we have partial upgrades that are happening at 10 locations. And that can be anything from pedestrian upgrades to just kind of hardware upgrades in the controller. So we have 7 of these locations in Enfield, 1 in Middletown, and 2 planned in South Windsor. So to give you an overall picture of our what we call district various projects, the state owns and maintains approximately 2,800 traffic signals on state highways, really all over in different towns throughout the state. And we have a goal and a responsibility to keep them working in good order so that they are safe and reliable for the traveling public. We've collected a lot of data in recent years so that we can kind of maintain and observe the conditions of all of our traffic signal assets. And then based on a number of criteria, they get rated as good, fair, or poor. See the percentages that we're working with at the moment. And they're actually improving year over year. And it's a very useful tool in helping us to select locations for these types of projects. We consider factors such as the age of the equipment, the condition of the support structures for these signals, such as mast arms and span poles. They all get inspected on a rotating basis, and so we have pretty good information about the condition. And we also have information about maintenance calls, like how often our maintenance staff are called out to address issues and what the issues are at these locations. We can also just kind of observe the existing equipment that's used and how it's used to see if it's kind of outdated, not in line with our current standards, such as pedestrian treatments and some of the hardware and detection equipment. And so these traffic signal locations have been scoped into this project because they are deficient in some of these criteria and could benefit from improvements. So the formal purpose and need for the project is to replace aging signal infrastructure with new signal equipment to achieve a state of good repair. So some of the improvements that could be expected at these locations are new equipment at the full replacement locations, pedestrian upgrades, potential flashing yellow arrows, that's for protected left turn movements if there's a dedicated left turn lane. Those have been installed in recent years, and they're getting installed more throughout the state. New vehicle detection, we'll go into that a little bit more. Improved access and potentially amenities at transit stops that are nearby to these intersections, and then illumination of crosswalks and transit stops that are on state roads. So when I talk about bringing traffic signal equipment up to current standards, I wanted to give a little bit more information on that. So we try to use mast arms now as our kind of preferred signal support structure in the state. We have a picture of a typical mast arm that would be used in a project like this on the bottom right. And then you can see signal heads, so the green, yellow, red indications that are attached to the mast arm. They have reflectorized backplates to help with their visibility. Vehicle detection, I still have another slide to go into more detail about that. Controllers, so each traffic signal has a kind of a gray cabinet that's in its proximity. And so when you open it up, you see all of this hardware and wiring that's in the top right. There's a lot of technology that goes into operating traffic signals and having them communicate with each other. And so it can get outdated very quickly, and bringing it up to the latest standard can actually really help with communications, and it can help with operation. And then emergency preemption. That is equipment that can enable the safer passage of large emergency response vehicles, such as fire trucks, that have a hard time stopping quickly at a red light because they're so big and heavy. So this equipment can identify when these trucks are approaching a traffic signal, and they can kind of hold a green phase so that the vehicle can go through and respond to the emergency a little quicker. So a little bit more information on pedestrian accommodations. Sometimes these are the most noticeable improvements that people see when we come through and do these projects. So I wanted to highlight some of them. We are trying to make more accommodations for pedestrians and transit users. And so we're making an effort to install additional crosswalks if there are none, or improve existing crosswalks if they exist already. And with that, we're installing new ADA compliant curb ramps, and then trying to make some sidewalk connections. If there are some kind of dead-ended sections of sidewalk, we try to connect to them so that pedestrians are able to travel to the intersection and through the intersection a little bit easier. And then adding push pedestrian signal heads, so the walker and then the flashing hands, and push buttons for pedestrians to call the phasing for them to cross. And then what's kind of a new thing in the state is the use of blank out signs, and they're used to draw attention to potential conflicts between right turning vehicles and pedestrians. So you can see on this video this loop of how it works and how it kind of cycles through the different messages and when peds are walking or stopped. So those are some of the pedestrian improvements that you can expect to see. And then here's the vehicle detection slide. So one of the most typical vehicle detection equipment pieces that we use is a 360-degree camera that captures detection zones located kind of right at the stop bar, right at the intersection. And you can see this bell camera that's attached to the mast arm in the photo. You probably see a lot of these around the state. They're very common now. The view that you get from that fisheye camera is shown kind of in the bottom right of the slide, and all of the detection zones that we're looking at are it's where we're interested to know if vehicles are there or not, if they've traveled through or if they're waiting during their red light phase, and it helps the signal controller know which phases to call. Like a left turn phase could be called if there's a car there, or it could be skipped if there's no car there, and it helps the signal operate more efficiently, particularly during the day when there's more traffic. And then it also helps it operate more safely at nighttime. The radar detection in the bottom, that white rectangular picture, that's used for detection on high-speed approaches as vehicles are approaching the signals. Sometimes it's difficult for drivers to decide whether they should stop as the light is changing from yellow to red, or if they should go through because they're going too quickly to stop. So these types of detectors let the controller know that there's a vehicle approaching, and they can extend the green phase a little bit if it seems like it's going too fast to stop in time. So you'll see those on high-speed approaches throughout the state. So that's the overview of the traffic signal equipment and the traffic signal replacement program. And now we're going to get into this specific District 1 project, and I'm going to hand it over to Leo, who will go through all of the individual locations and the kind of preliminary improvements that are being proposed.
Thank you, Kata. So as mentioned, my name is Leo Gamez. I am a traffic engineer at Condot, and I'll be going through first the various full replacement locations and then the partial replacement locations. So first here in Enfield, we have one full replacement location. It's on US Route 5, Enfield Street at Parker Street. I just want to introduce here the legend that will be remaining constant throughout all of the images you see of the plans. You'll see that we'll have these blue shapes that'll be proposed easements. Malcolm Thomas will be talking a little bit more about easements and rights of way later on in this presentation. The green shapes will be new ramps or sidewalks. As part of this project, we're doing various pedestrian improvements, so that'll be in green. Crosswalks will be in purple. There'll be little dot icons. Mass arm signal supports, so that's where the foundation is, will be this little icon that's a circle instead of a square in orange. And signal heads will be this triangle that's attached to this mast arm. And then blank out signs are going to be the T shape. The controller cabinet you'll see on all of these plans, it's this icon that has like the little cross through it. And then new stop bars, if they're moving, will be a pink, thicker line. It's not shown on this plan because we're not having any stop bars move at this one, but you'll see it in the later plans. Um, so just to get into this particular intersection, I'm going to be starting at the top left. We have a 35-foot mast arm that's going to be addressing the southbound approach of Route 5. We're also going to be having a easement here for the construction of this mast arm. Moving clockwise, on the northwest corner, we have a 25-foot mast arm to address that westbound traffic. Constructing a new sidewalk ramp to facilitate pedestrian movement across both the west and the north sides of this intersection. On the northeast side of this intersection, we have a 35-foot mast arm. Going to be doing some more sidewalk ramp construction, another crosswalk, and then on the southeast side of the intersection, we have a 35-foot mast arm as well. So in Hartford, we have 6 locations that are receiving full replacement upgrades along this corridor. So starting here on Route 187, which is Blue Hills Avenue at Westbound Parkway. Starting at the southwest corner, we have a 35-foot mast arm. Again, we'll be obtaining some easements here for installation. On the northwest corner, we have a 35-foot mast arm as well. On the northeast corner, we have a 30-foot mast arm. And on the southeast corner, we have a 30-foot mast arm. And we'll be maintaining the 4 crosswalks that are present here at this intersection, as well as doing some upgrades to the sidewalk maps. So moving north along this corridor here on Blue Hills Avenue, this is Route 187 at Plainfield Street. At this location, we're proposing a singular mast arm that's going to be located on the southwest corner. This is going to be a 65-foot mast arm. It's going to accommodate indications for all approaches. And also at this intersection, we'll be maintaining pedestrian connectivity across all of the legs of the intersection, as well as moving back some of these stop bars, as you can see, on the north, west, and east approaches in order to better accommodate that pedestrian surface. This is Route 187, Blue Hills Avenue at Holcomb Street. At this location, we're also proposing a singular mast arm. This one is going to be 55 feet in length, again, accommodating indications for all approaches. And again, at this intersection, we do have some proposed easements to facilitate the construction of both the mast arm and the sidewalk ramps. And we're again maintaining sidewalk ramps at all corners and crosswalks across all approaches. This is Route 187, Blue Hills Avenue at Tower Avenue. At this intersection, we have 2 proposed mast arms. So the first mast arm is on the southwest corner. It'll be 30 feet long in length, and it'll be addressing southbound traffic. And then the second mast arm is going to be located on the southeast corner, and it's going to be 65 feet in length, and will be addressing traffic from the 3 other directions. And as you can see, we have a couple easements to facilitate the installation and maintenance of these mast arms. We're again going to be maintaining the 4 crosswalks across all approaches, upgrading sidewalk ramps, and pushing back a couple of these stop bars to facilitate this pedestrian traffic. This is Route 187, Blue Hills Avenue at Burnham Street and East Burnham Street. At this location, we're proposing a singular mast arm again, but this time it'll be on the northeast corner. and this mast arm is 60 feet in length, accommodating indications for all approaches. We're going to be maintaining the existing crosswalks, and we're going to be marking out the crossings that aren't currently marked, as well as doing some upgrading of the sidewalk ramps and pushing back a couple of these stop bars to accommodate the pedestrian traffic. This is Route 187, Blue Hills Avenue at Branford Street. At this location, we're proposing four mast arms. So the first one on the southwest corner is going to be 30 feet in length. We're also going to be obtaining an easement for installation of this mast arm. On the northwest corner, we have a 25-foot mast arm. On the northeast corner, we have a 30-foot mast arm. And on the southeast corner, we have a 30-foot mast arm. And at each of these corners, we'll be doing some sidewalk ramp improvements, maintaining the four crossings across each approach, and pushing back two of the four stop bars to accommodate the pedestrians. So now we're moving to Middletown. This is Route 3, which is Newfield Street at Stony Crest Drive and Bartlett Hollow Road. Starting at the southwest corner, we have a 35-foot mast arm to address that southbound traffic. We're going to be marking a crossing across the eastbound approach. And then on the northwest corner, we have a 30-foot mast arm to address westbound traffic. We're going to be constructing a sidewalk ramp on that corner as well and marking a crosswalk to the northeast corner. And on the northeast corner, we have proposed a 35-foot mast arm to address northbound traffic. We're going to be marking the crossing across that westbound approach, and then we have a 45-foot mast arm proposed for the final corner, the southeast corner. And yeah, we have a couple of proposed easements at this location as well, as you can see. So again, on this Route 3 corridor in Middletown, this is Route 3 Newfield Street at La Rosa Lane. At this location, we have three proposed mast arms. The first one is going to be on the southwest corner. It is a 25-foot mast arm, addressing southbound traffic. The other two mast arms are both located on the east side, of this road. So one of them is going to be a 30-foot mast arm addressing northbound traffic, and the other one is also a 30-foot mast arm, but it'll be addressing eastbound traffic. And also at this location, we have a couple proposed easements for construction, and, facilitating the construction of that mast arm and as well as some sidewalk ramps. And we're maintaining these two marked crossings as well. So now we'll be moving on to partial replacements. So unlike the previous full replacement locations, we're not proposing any new mast arms or overhead equipment for the traffic signal. Instead, these locations will be largely comprised of pedestrian, um, you know, inter intersection compatibility and vehicular detection upgrades. So starting in this corridor in Enfield, this is US Route 5, which is Enfield Street at the Route 190 westbound off-ramp and Franklin Street, which is also known as State Route 514. At this location, the only physical upgrades that we'll be doing here will just be some adjustments to the pedestrian crossings. Again, in Enfield, this is Enfield Street at Fruit Terrace, which is State Route 515, and the on-ramp to Route 190 eastbound. At this location, there's currently one marked crossing, so for facilitating pedestrian access, we'll be marking out another crosswalk, providing some sidewalk ramps, and adjusting a stop bar. in order to facilitate that pedestrian crossing. This is US Route 5 Enfield Street at High Street. At this location, we're maintaining an existing marked crosswalk across High Street, and we'll also be adding a marked crosswalk across Route 5 and providing a pedestrian landing. This is US Route 5 Enfield Street at Brainerd Road and Sunset Drive. Um, as you can see, there's an existing marked crosswalk, so we're maintaining that marked crossing as well as providing some sidewalk access to an additional crosswalk that exists. And instead of having that crossing be removed from the actual intersection, we'll be having that just along the main road to provide greater pedestrian access and visibility. Still in Enfield, this is US Route 5 Enfield Street at the I-91 northbound ramps, Bright Meadow Boulevard, and a private driveway. At this location, we'll just be doing some pedestrian upgrades. So as you can see, there's an existing pedestrian crossing that's marked. We'll just be doing some sidewalk ramp improvements as well as providing a marked crossing to connect some sidewalk. Also in Enfield, this is US Route 5, Enfield Street at Montana Road and a Dunkin' Donuts driveway. We're maintaining this existing marked crosswalk and making some improvements to the sidewalk ramps, as well as providing some marked crossings where pedestrians would be likely to cross across some of these driveways. This is US Route 5, Enfield Street at the I-91 southbound ramps. At this location, we're marking out a crossing on the northbound approach here, as well as providing some sidewalks in order to connect to an existing sidewalk that's just a little bit removed from where people might be likely to cross, and maintaining an existing marked crosswalk across these sidewalks on the ramp side. So we're back in Middletown for a partial replacement. This is Route 3, Newfield Street at Westfield Street. This location currently has 3 existing marked crosswalks, so we'll just be maintaining those and doing some improvements to the sidewalk ramps. As you can see, we'll be obtaining a couple easements to better structure these sidewalk ramps. This is South Windsor. So this is US Route 5, which is John Fitch Boulevard at Pleasant Valley Road. At this location, it's a signal that's exactly before a railroad crossing. So this is kind of like a supplemental um, set of signals to the main intersection. So here we'll be doing a replacement of these signal indications here, as well as marking out a new stop line. So this is the other side of this same railroad. Um, and so this is Route 5, John Fitch Boulevard at Strong Road. Again, same thing. Just a new mass arm signal support, new indications, and new stop line. And that's all of the details about the full and partial replacements. So I'm going to hand it back to Katie.
Great, thank you, Leo. I'm just going to go over a couple of the coordination items that we have done and that we will be doing throughout the rest of the design phase of this project. We did notify the municipalities, all of the locations and the kind of scoping for all the different locations back in July of 2025. And we will be contacting them again shortly. The LTAs, as I mentioned before, who we will be coordinating with kind of throughout the remainder of the design. We'll be sending emails to them shortly to discuss more specifics about these designs now that we have the concepts. And then another of our next steps is to begin our outreach and coordination with utility companies. So there are, potential conflicts both underground and overhead. And so we need to make sure we coordinate with these utility owners to either avoid or resolve conflicts as necessary. So we do that through a series of virtual and field meetings. And then this public meeting is part of our coordination and outreach as well that's occurring right now. And then now we can talk a little bit about potential right-of-way impacts. We do try to keep all of our equipment and improvements within the existing right-of-way for these types of projects. We're really just trying to replace equipment here. Our scope is limited in terms of geometric improvements that we do, so we tend to have a limited impact on adjacent properties, but occasionally the existing right-of-way is insufficient, or there are some existing maybe PED facilities that we want to connect to, and adjacent properties can get impacted a little bit, potentially to place a support structure or to place some pedestrian features. So the easement locations that Leo showed you on the previous slides are still being finalized. They're in their preliminary stages, so they'll be going through their process. And now I'm going to hand it over to Malcolm to talk a little bit more about what that process looks like.
Great. Thank you, Kata. Good evening. As mentioned, I'm Malcolm Thomas. I'm an assistant project coordinator with the department's rights-of-way division. Our office is responsible for the acquisition of necessary property and property rights for transportation projects throughout the state. Any property rights will be acquired in accordance with state Connecticut General Statute sections 13A 73 and 13A 98E, as well as the Uniform Act. It's important to note that the state will only acquire property rights that are deemed necessary for the project. Impacted property owners will receive a formal letter of intent to acquire, along with a property map which depicts the exact property rights to be acquired. In the next slide, you'll see a sample on the screen depicting a property map that a property owner will receive. Our office will determine the fair market value of those property rights, which will be used to establish an offer of just compensation. The offer will be sent to the property owner in writing, and a right-of-way agent will be available to meet with impacted property owners to explain the project, go over the impacts to their property, and explain the state's offer. Property owners will typically have 30 days to consider the state's offer and enter into negotiations. Once an agreement is reached, the department will prepare all necessary paperwork to record the conveyance documents and property maps on the land records, on the town's land records. In the event that an agreement cannot be reached, to keep on schedule with the project, the department may acquire the necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain, which the state will file a notice of just compensation in the Superior Court, along with the monetary deposit of the state's offer. The owner will have 6 months from that date to file an appeal if they felt the state's offer was inadequate. Whether or not the owner chooses to appeal, the money will be deposited in the court and is available to be withdrawn by the property owner at any time. And I will bring it back to Kata to conclude our presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So just a quick overview of the project costs. The projected construction budget at this point is $13.3 million. The whole project's being conducted with 100% state funding. And then related to the schedule, here's the schedule as it currently is, but it is subject to the continued availability of the anticipated funding and the approval of permits as we proceed through the design phase. So we have completed preliminary design. We are just about complete with, we're just about complete with preliminary design. Preliminary engineering is done. Our final design products are anticipated to be done in June of 2027, so that the project can be prepared for advertising in August of next summer. And then contractor would be selected and the contract awarded, and they'd be given notice to proceed, and physical construction would be expected to start in 2028, maybe the summer or the fall. And then this projects like this take about 2 years to construct, so it would be complete kind of the end of the fall in 2023. And so the immediate next steps in the project are to advance into final design and incorporate public feedback, incorporate some town feedback that we're going to be looking for, and continue providing more detail on our traffic signal designs, finalizing our right-of-way needs, and working through that process and working with the utility companies to coordinate any conflicts. And so with that, we are open for our question and answer session, and I'm going to hand it over to Fred to facilitate that.
Thank you, Kata. My name is Fred Orley. I'm a transportation engineer here at CTDOT. I'm just going to be running this Q&A session here. So I will go ahead and start by posting our email. If at any time you have a question or a comment, there's a 2-week period after this VPIM where you can go ahead and email us. I'm posting that into the chat right now, so it's easier for you to access. You can also reach us by phone at 860-594-2020. When you reach out to us, it's very important that you mention the project number. This project is 0171-0523. That allows it to end up in the right team's hands and just kind of speeds up the response time from us. If you have a question right now, we're happy to answer it live using the Zoom Q&A feature. We also have a project webpage that you can visit that has some helpful links on it. I'm going to go ahead and post that in the chat as well right now. There we go. Again, the comment period is open through July 29th. So at any time you can send us an email or call the phone number on the screen. I'm going to give it a few minutes for some questions to come in. Right now we don't have any. While that's going on, I think I'm going to turn off my video and mute myself while I check the voicemail just to make sure no one left a voicemail for us. So I'll go ahead and give some time now. All right, I'm back. There were no new messages in the voicemail, but I do see that we have one question here through the Q&A feature. Chris asks, specific to Enfield Route 5, you're planning on enhancing pedestrian facilities on the east side of Route 5, which is great, but there's no sidewalk on that side across nearly all of Enfield. It's understandably out of the scope of the project, but what can you say about future sidewalk developments that connect the facilities you're enhancing here? Would anyone on the team like to take a crack at that question?
Sure, yeah. You are correct that extensive sidewalk work in between intersections is outside of the scope of this project. We think that improving pedestrian accommodations at intersections is actually really helpful, as intersections can be some of the greatest barriers and safety hazards for pedestrians, and it's actually a little bit more challenging to install crosswalks and push buttons and ped heads and curb ramps to facilitate those movements. But it's sort of setting up future projects to just make those in-between connections between the intersections. So if the town is wanting to initiate a project to make some of those connections, they can do that. Or if a developer is making improvements to a property, the town can request that they construct sidewalk along the frontage of their property, and you can start to fill in some of those gaps. But then all the most difficult parts of the network are provided already. I'm not aware of any specific projects that are currently planned to do that, but I would say, and I'm not sure if you're a member or you're with the town of Enfield or not, but I would say to make sure you're coordinating with your local traffic authority in Enfield. They might have more information to share with you, and they should also be aware of the types of improvements that folks in the town are looking to have and move forward with. So that would be a good next step to try to get some more sidewalk development realized. So if anybody else has anything to add, feel free.
Thank you, Kata. One more thing while I wait for more questions to come in case there are any. We have a survey available. It's really beneficial to us. Our public involvement team uses that to help better future PPIMs. They're the team who looks at it. So I'm posting the link right now. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a few more minutes for any more questions to come in.
Oh, hi, good evening. My name's Lisa Conroy. I'm the principal engineer for the CTDOT traffic signals unit that's administering this project. I just wanted to add on to that last question too, that in the town of Enfield, the designated representative of the local traffic authority is Sergeant Matthew Meyer, the traffic division supervisor. The LTA is actually the town manager, but Sergeant Meyer is designated representative. So that would be someone that you could certainly reach out to and see if the town does have any plans for a future network or with any other sidewalk improvements in that area.
Thank you, Lisa. I'll go ahead and give it another minute. See if any more questions come in. All right, it doesn't seem like any more questions are coming in, so I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and I'm going to end our webinar